We know that money is very stressful, and we know that when people are in debt, it's even more stressful. So what to do when you're feeling that there isn't enough paycheck every week to get you through that time period? Let's talk about that. So the first thing you can do is to see a credit counselor. Find a nonprofit certified credit counselor who can take a thorough look at your financial situation and do an assessment, such as the credit counselors that we have working at the Center for Financial Wellness. The reason you want to start with a credit counselor is it's very low fee. No one's denied service because of inability to pay. So that's a good place to start, where it's not going to cost very much to do that. And the person will sit down with you, take a look at what you have as far as income coming home, what you have for assets, debt, and living expenses. The sooner you come in to see a credit counselor, the more options you will probably have. They'll take a look at what your situation is, discuss with you certain options that you might have available, and help you get on the road to paying off your debt. Now, they may tell you that you can handle this on your own and give you some tips and tricks in order to do that. Or we have what's called a debt management program, where you can put unsecured debt into a plan. Many credit card companies will lower the interest rate, stop late fee over the limit fee, lower payment amounts in order to help you get out of the debt. So it's a real win situation. We can also put in medical debt, collection debt, and some unsecured loans. So that might also be an option for you to do that. And if they're looking at your situation and saying, you know, this is really a tough situation, you may have to file bankruptcy, or at least think about that, we are also approved to do the pre-bankruptcy counseling. So starting again with a good nonprofit credit counseling agency might be your best bet in order to get yourself on the road to getting out of debt. And if you do get into a debt management program, most of our clients get out of debt within 4 to 5 years. Something you've maybe heard a lot about, either on radio or television, is debt settlement. And the advertisement may sound like, now you can get out of debt by paying pennies on the dollar. And what's that all about? Well, a debt settlement company generally will take over your debt, ask you to put money aside into an account in order to settle the debt for less. Now, you need to be behind on your payments in order for a debt settlement to work. So that's one thing. So your credit is going to go down, your credit rating, because you're behind on your bills. The other thing that's going to make this successful is if you have a lump sum of cash that you're either going to get shortly or have available to you to go ahead and settle on the debt. Creditors can get impatient waiting for you to come up and settle the debt. In the meantime, they're just adding more interest, late payments on the debt. So trying to get out of this, it's just going to keep escalating, and you're going to keep trying to pay it. And if they get impatient, they may end up getting a judgment against you, which means they can, in fact, garnish your wages if you're employed and working. And then you're probably looking at a bankruptcy situation. So you really, really need to be careful about debt settlement. And a lot of the companies that are out there charge a lot of fees for that. They may charge a fee to get you set up in the program. They may charge a monthly fee. And then they may charge a fee that is a portion of the money they've saved you in paying off that debt. So it's something I would really urge you to be careful about. The other thing is, if you do have a chunk of money that you can pay down on your debt, you can go ahead and settle your debt on your own. There's nothing magic in doing that. It's just you need to be behind on it. You need to contact the creditor and get in writing what they'll accept the debt for. But be aware, whether you do this on your own or whether you get involved with a debt settlement company, this may be a taxable situation. If they've forgiven an amount of debt for you, they may end up sending you a tax form at the beginning of the next year saying that this debt has been written off, and now you'll have to add that on your taxes. So that's just a heads up on debt settlement that you want to be cognizant of when it's if you decide to go ahead and settle your debt for less than what you owe. Now, if you live in the state of Wisconsin, Wisconsin has a funky little law that's called the Wisconsin Chapter 128. And this allows residents of the state of Wisconsin to pay off unsecured debt within a 36-month time period. It isn't a bankruptcy. It's generally put on your credit report as a worker payback plan, somewhat similar to the debt management plan that I talked about earlier with credit counseling. But you do have 36 months to do this, and it will generally stop any kind of wage garnishment. So if you've got not a lot of debt and you can pay it off in 36 months, that might be an option that's available. There will be a 10% trustee charge on that debt. So in order to have the court facilitate that, there will be a fee involved with doing a Wisconsin Chapter 128. And there are attorneys that can help you do that. Do you need an attorney? Probably not, but it might not be a bad idea. And it's a much cheaper way to go than it is to actually file a bankruptcy. Again, that's only available in the state of Wisconsin to Wisconsin residents. So if you're living in another state and happen to see this, it isn't going to help you out. That gets us down into thinking about bankruptcy. And bankruptcy really and truly needs to be your absolute last resort. You don't want to file bankruptcy if you don't have to. And generally, people will file if they want to protect their wages. In other words, somebody has taken them to court, there's a judgment against them, and now they can garnish their wages. So if you're having 25% of your wages taken out of your paycheck after taxes, can be pretty difficult to pay your bills. So that's when a lot of people say, you know, I can't do this, I can't feed my family, I can't pay my rent, and have this creditor taking this amount of money out, and that's when they'll start thinking about filing a bankruptcy. There are generally two types of bankruptcy that most people would be eligible for. One is a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and that just liquidates the debt. You don't have to pay anything back. And there are some rules involved in that as far as income if you're able and eligible to file that type of bankruptcy. I'm not an attorney, and I cannot give you legal advice on this. However, you probably do want to at least meet with an attorney and get some advice as to what you might qualify for. The other type of bankruptcy is a Chapter 13. And in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you pay a portion of that debt back. And again, that may be 10 cents on the dollar, it may be 50 cents on the dollar. It just depends on how much you're able to pay and the amount of debt. And again, an attorney will be able to guide you through that process if you file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Now, many attorneys will come on TV and they have various kinds of hooks, things like the bank's got their bailout, don't you deserve one? Or, you know, we know the law, it's better than ever, call us and we'll get you out of debt. But again, you really want to think hard on this if this is what you want to do. Not that you can't go and talk to an attorney and decide if that's right for you. And in some cases, it really is the only option that some people have. The other thing that you want to know about bankruptcy is that the law that was changed in 2005 when the bankruptcy laws were reformed, that law does require that you see a certified credit counselor, one that's approved by the Executive Office of the United States Trustee, that can give you the consultation on bankruptcy and will give you a certificate. That certificate is then taken to the attorney and will be needed when you actually file your bankruptcy. The law also required that in between the time you file your bankruptcy and the time your bankruptcy is discharged, you have to have 2 hours of education, financial education. We do classroom instruction on that. They've been very successful, good reviews, and very positive. But it was part of the bankruptcy law that the courts felt that people probably needed to have some education to prevent them getting into that situation again. There are a lot of people that filed 8 years ago before that law went into effect. So for those who did file and are thinking again, there's some different rules involved with that. So those are some of the options that are available. Credit counseling, debt settlement, Wisconsin Chapter 128, and bankruptcy. Now there are other things you can do. You might want to think about taking out a home equity loan. For example, if you've got equity within your home and want to pay off your credit cards. And I'm not opposed to that idea as long as you make some necessary changes in your spending habits so that you don't pay off all your credit cards and then start charging up again. So it's really important that if you do this, you only do it once and not continue to use your home as a piggy bank. I've seen too many people come into our office who are homeowners that have done exactly that. They've used their home equity as a piggy bank and they don't have any equity in their home anymore. And they've lived there for 10 years, 20 years, and some even more than that. So do be careful with that. The other thing would be if you took a loan out of your retirement account. Some plans do allow for loans. that you can take out from your retirement money at work. Again, if it's a loan and you are paying it back, make sure that you get it paid back before you leave that company. Otherwise, you may end up in a situation where you might have a taxable event as well. So again, those are some options that are, again, come with a lot of thought. The best way to pay off your debt is to pay off according to what your creditors want you to do. Make your payments on time every month. And if you look at your statement now, it will show you that if you make the minimum payment, it's now going to tell you how long it's going to take you to get out of debt. It'll also show if you pay a little bit more, how long it'll take. So you want to be aware of that. But again, if you're feeling that your debt is just causing you sleepless nights, if you're feeling very stressed out, if you're arguing with your partner about money, it's a good time to get some help. And reach out to a credit counseling agency that can help you, that's nonprofit, that's a member in good standing with the Better Business Bureau. And personally, I like the local touch of being able to go in and meet with people, look them face to face, and discuss your finances rather than trying to do that with somebody who's in a different state that you hope will be there the next day when you go to call. So at this point, I'm going to close, but we will be back next month with some more ideas and more thoughts about how to make you financially healthier. Thank you.